So I recall Neville Goddard saying in one of his many lectures that he either dreamed or he actually physically saw his mother working in her garden shortly before her death was announced to him. He also remarked in seeing his mother at this time that she was young and beautiful again. It is very comforting to think the ones that we love that we've lost from this world are in another world, a linear world just like we live in now, and that they live on and that they're thriving and living life again. Now, I've never seen what most people would call a ghost of a loved one or anything like that, but I did have an experience last year in October of 2022, which is absolutely unmistakable. This was my grandmother. My grandmother actually passed away in June of 2019. As I've mentioned in another video, I was raised by my grandmother, and I was so close to her that I never made reference to her by calling her grandma or anything like that. I actually called her mom because I was raised by her, and she was my mother. Now, throughout my life, my grandmother was pretty much the only blood relative that I can say I could always depend on and who never failed me. Not one time do I remember or can I recall a time where I didn't need my grandmother, where she wasn't there for me. And it wasn't just for me necessarily. She was there for all of her children and all of her grandchildren. And she literally dedicated her entire life to her family. She is literally the greatest woman that I have ever known in life, of anyone that I've ever known. She was a very honest, honorable, and virtuous woman. So it's understandable that losing her in 2019 was very traumatic for me, but at the same time, my grandmother suffered from Alzheimer's for about 10 years, so I had kind of made my peace with her passing before it happened. My grandmother was a leader. She was the matriarch of our family, and everyone depended on her, so it was kind of hard for me to see her kind of deteriorate. Watching someone ultimately lose their life to Alzheimer's is kind of like watching a picture fade. Every day it gets a little more faded. So you're literally watching the personality, the everything that makes them them. You're watching that fade away, and there's nothing left but just the physical body in the end. I felt orphaned when she died, even though I was a grown man. I often thought to myself, well, what's it going to be like when I get married? She won't be there. Or when something important happens in my life, she won't be there. So last year in October, I was kind of taken aback because I had to have a major surgery, and I'm not close with any of my blood relatives. And I thought to myself, now this would be a time where my grandmother would be here for me, and I'm kind of going to have to go through this without my parent. And preparing for the surgery, I felt very alone, even though there were other people there. My wife was there. Several of my friends checked on me and were there for me during this period. However, this was the first time that something this major was going to happen, and I wasn't going to have my grandmother there, or so I thought. So I have the surgery. The surgery is a major success. Everything went perfectly fine. And after being in recovery for about maybe an hour, I'm told that I'm going to be taken to my room. So I get to my room and I'm getting settled. And nowadays, they don't write all of your hospital information about you for the nurses to understand what procedure you've had, what your needs are, when you're going to get your medication or anything like that. It's on a TV screen, the same TV that you would watch TV on, except there's a screen that has your name, your room number, your telephone number to the room. Now, when I looked at this screen, I stopped dead in my tracks because I couldn't believe my eyes. The phone number to my hospital room was the same phone number that my grandmother had when I was a little boy. From the time that I was born till I was about maybe 10 or 12, she had the same phone number, 227-9122. My hospital room was 9122, and the phone number to my room was 227-9122. Now, us from a particular generation remember our parents or grandparents having a landline, and we always remember that phone number because there were no cell phones some 30, 40 years ago. So when I saw that, I instantly knew my grandmother is here and she's taking care of me. What are the odds that my phone number to my hospital room would be the exact same phone number my grandmother had for, I don't know, 15, 20 years? She had this phone number before I was even born. It was the most comforting thing I think I've ever felt in my entire life. Even though I didn't see anything, I didn't see her in physical form or anything like that, but knowing my grandmother, I don't think she would have ever taken physical form. That's just not her way. But she definitely let me know that she was there and that I wasn't by myself and that I did have a blood relative there. I had the most important blood relative there, which was her. I felt just like I did when I was a little kid, knowing that I could always depend on my grandmother, even in death. My grandmother showed up for me exactly when I needed her, just like she did in life. She never failed me. She was always there for me. She never let me fall, and she was always there to catch me. And I just thought to myself, wow, even in death, my grandmother is the same virtuous, wonderful, honorable woman, taking care of her children, taking care of me. As usual and always, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen. I thank you so very much for supporting me and supporting this channel. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. More videos to come. And until next time, everyone. Bye, everybody.